Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. My dear viewers everywhere, this is your presenter, Dr. Mamdouh Muhammad. I am with you today to look at this picture. When you look at this picture, some people would say, oh, this is a wonderful representation of generosity. It's a person who is very generous. And by the way, what you see in the camera is not a swimming pool, is not a pool that has sand. No, it's a pot, a huge pot that you see right now, full of rice and full of meat, lamb and perhaps camel and other ones. This is, as you can see, that I cannot imagine that some people would be able to eat that. I cannot imagine that someone is able to stretch his hand to get what is in the middle of this pool of rice and meat. And still some people call it generosity. Unfortunately, we in Islam, we call it the right name. We call it israf. We call it extravagance. What you're seeing now is actual representation of israf, of extravagance. Such a limited number of people, if you keep all those people sitting around it full, to the full maximum, they wouldn't be able to eat 1/10 or 1/20 of what you see in front of you. And what happens to the rest? Where does it go? Now, I want you to compare this picture or this photo with the other photo. Look at the other picture. You can see those people stretching their hands, asking for something to eat, to keep them alive, something that would make them at least not die of starvation. When you compare the two photos with each other, you can't believe that we live on the same earth. You can't believe that there are some human beings are enjoying the food, are having such plenty of food to the degree that they get sick out of eating. They cannot move because they filled their stomachs. And at the same time, you find some other people living on the same planet, somewhere else. They are starving and dying of food. And still, unfortunately, the picture, the first picture, represents some Muslims. And unfortunately, I call that some Muslims because this is not an Islamic tradition. This is the effect of their own culture that's affected the Islamic culture, the local culture, when it conquers the Islamic culture. And you can see such a scenario that's unbelievable. Yet, we recite the Quran, Muslims recite the Quran on daily basis, and they listen, and they read, and they say it, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands them, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. And eat and drink, but do not exaggerate. Do not be extravagant, because Allah does not like those who are extravagant. Where are those when they listen to these verses? Brothers and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned many hadith, and one of them is, even it's considered this extravagance affects the belief of a human being. The Prophet ﷺ said that, وَاللَّهِ لَا يُؤْمِنُ أَحَدُكُمْ. By Allah, none of you is considered a complete believer unless he loves for his brother or for his or sister as he loves for himself. How can we listen to this verse and teach it to others, and at the same time we do that thing? Some people would say that this is few people who do this. Unfortunately, no. We do this in our level. We do it in our houses by leaving some bites of food from the food that we eat. We leave lots of things in our plates, and this is thrown, unfortunately, and we forget that there are human beings, Muslims or non-Muslims, that die out of starvation. I went to Indonesia, I lived there, and I learned a wonderful lesson, which is an Islamic representation of the etiquettes of eating. I lived a long time, and I've been invited to eat with rich people, with poor people, with different calibers and different status in the society. I ate with them, I lived with them 10 years, and I've learned a wonderful lesson. All of them, not a single one of them, when he or she eats, they leave anything in their plates. Not a single piece of rice is left. And one time I learned the lesson, and I started teaching it to the students. If you calculate it, if you leave just 10 pieces of rice in your plate and you multiply it by 3 every day, which is 30 pieces of rice, just rice, and you multiply it by the number of the people in any given country, a country that has 100 million people, you will see wonder. You will see wonders. When you calculate this, you'll find a lot of rice that can be used to feed the poor people. Brothers and sisters, I want you to look back at that picture, to look back at those poor people stretching their hands looking for some. Again, it is our responsibility. And I think it's the time for the people who are responsible in any country, Islamic or non-Islamic. I want you to see how many programs on the TV that you can see, on the media in general, that tries to teach and educate people issues of etiquettes in Islam. How to save the leftovers, not the main food. How to save it for the poor people. In this way, you can save a lot of human lives that die almost every day out of hunger. And we exaggerate that we are extravagant in our meals. The Prophet ﷺ told us a wonderful lesson. A person, a human being, any human being can eat only few or several bites to keep his life, to sustain his life. Just few, and this few in Arabic, as he said, luqaymat, between 3 and 10, just between 3 and 10 bites in a meal is enough to keep you survive and to keep your energy and to help you to work. And if you have to eat more for whatever reason, for the effect of the culture, the negative effect of the culture on you, or for whatever reason that pushes you to eat more, so remember that the golden rule of the 1/3, as the Prophet ﷺ said, so 1/3 of your stomach can be used for eating, and 1/3 can be used for drinking, and 1/3 can be used for breathing, to give yourself opportunity to breathe and to inhale the oxygen. Don't keep it full all the time, and don't sleep with full stomach. And you know that some of your neighbors, Muslims or non-Muslims, they are hungry. This is the essence of our great religion, to apply it in life and to show people that we are well organized and merciful human beings. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.